So siapa yang terkeluar boleh masuk balik lepas ni. Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So last class we already start with chapter number 2 and we finish at how to construct a frequency table for quantitative data. Right. So for today we're going to start with histogram. Right. So histogram is a graphical presentation of a frequency table or relative frequency table. Right. It's a presentation of frequency table, relative frequency table of quantitative data. So this is the most important key that you need to understand. So histogram is meant for quantitative data. So it consists of a series of bar joining each other or by class boundary. So if you still remember on bar graph, right, we have bar represent each class and each bar is not connected with another bar, right? It has a space between bar, right? For histogram, it has a same presentation layout, right? So it has bar. For first bar and the second bar, there are no gap between first bar and second bar and the following bar, right? So each bar represent class boundary. So this is a lower class boundary and this is upper class boundary for the first class, right? This is upper class boundary for the second class and followed by third or fourth and so on. So x-axis represent class boundary, right? And y-axis represent frequency, right? So this is a layout for histogram, right? The purpose of histogram is we want to see the shape of the distribution of the data, right? Whether the data is normally distributed, skewed to the right or skewed to the left, right? So the height of each bar represent frequency of each class, while the width of each bar represent the class size of each class. So lebar histogram bar ni represent class size. So the height represent frequency of each class, right? So one important characteristic of histogram is the area of each bar proportional to the frequency of each class. Therefore, it is important to see class size of each class of the frequency table, whether they are equal width or not before drawing histogram. But we don't worry, in our subject, it should be all equal width. Means all the frequency table we have a same class size, right? So this is a example of histogram, right? This is histogram. Right, let's look at example 11, right? We try to draw histogram based on example 11, right? So first we have a frequency table, a daily sales of 35 hawkers taken randomly in town are shown in table below. We have daily sales and number of hawker, right? So 121 to 136. So the requirement for histogram is we need to have a class boundary, right? If you want to create a class boundary, means that you need to convert this class to class boundary, right? So this one is 120.5 to 136.5. 136.5 to 152.5, 53.5 to 168.5. This is 168.5 to 184.5, 184.5 to 200.5. And this is the frequency value. So we want frequency value and class boundary. So let's begin to create a histogram. First, you need to create a y axis, followed by x axis, right? And just need to remember, y axis represent frequency. So in this case is number of occur, right? And x axis represent class boundary. Class boundary in this case is the daily sales, right? We start to draw histogram from the zero origin. Kita akan letak satu gap, let's say two box empty, and start with the first bar. The first bar should be 120.5. Let's say we take 4 bar, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 136.5. And this is, sorry, I ambil 3 pula. So this is 136.5. This is 152.5, and so on lah. So can you try to draw the histogram by your own? 168.5, 184.5, and the last one is 200.5. Right. So this is going to be our class boundary. Right. So now we try to figure out the frequency value. Let's say this is 2, this is 1, 2. So let's say I draw the first class. First class is 7. So let's say from here to here. So this is our first bar for histogram. And then for the second class is 6. The third class is 11. From here. Oops. The fourth class is 6. And the last class is 5. So this is a histogram. So make sure in your histogram you should have axis title for x axis and y axis, right? And then you should have the title for the whole graph, the histogram showing distribution of daily sales of 35. Okay. Nampak tak? So this is how we draw histogram, right? Make sure title ada dekat atas lah. I punya kenapa I tak nak? Yeah. Are you okay? If you're okay, then please say something on chat room, right? So this is how we draw histogram, right? So now we move to the next plot that we're going to draw, which is a frequency polygon. Frequency polygon is a graph that formed by joining the midpoint of each class. It also can be drawn from histogram by joining the midpoint of each bar. Right? From the previous lecture, we already know what is the midpoint. Midpoint is the middle value of class boundary, class size, right? So 120.5 plus 136.5, 120.5 plus 136.5 divided by 2, it should be equal to 128.5. So this is going to be your midpoint for the first class, right? So we will point a midpoint for each height of the bar. So this is going to be your midpoint, right? And this is going to be our midpoint as well, right? This is our midpoint. So then the next step is we're going to connect this midpoint. We're going to join the midpoint together, right? Let me use another color. So by joining the midpoint for each class, this is what we call as a frequency polygon, right? So frequency polygon again is a graph that formed by joining the midpoint of each class, right? It can be drawn from a histogram by joining the midpoint of each bar. So the red color line ini adalah frequency polygon. Right? Okay. For frequency curve, right? For the next graph is a frequency curve. Frequency curve is a graph that join the midpoint of each class. Sama juga dengan frequency polygon, right? It can be also drawn by using original drawn polygon by smoothing the sharp point of the polygon. So means that for frequency polygon, we draw a line, right? With a sharp line, right? But for frequency curve, we just need to smooth the line. Means this is going to be macam ni. We just draw using our freehand. So dia akan jadi smooth lah, right? So that is a frequency curve, right? So far, do you understand how to draw histogram? This is going to be very easy if you understand the key element that required in histogram. So first key element is we need to have a class boundary for each for x-axis and frequency on y-axis, right? Each bar represent lower class boundary and high upper class boundary, right? So upper class boundary and lower class boundary is taken from a frequency table, right? This frequency table. Okay. So let's move to another graph, which is stem and leaf display. Right? Are you okay? Can we move? Are you okay? Right. So now we move to the next graph, which is stem and leaf diagram. Stem and leaf diagram means you need to draw batang and pokok, batang and daun, right? So it's another form of presentation that can be used to organize quantitative data. Again, stem and leaf is specially designed for a quantitative data, right? Last lecture we already looked at for qualitative data. Qualitative data we have a bar chart, pie chart, that's all kan. So for quantitative data we have histogram and stand and leaf. Another one is box plot. We're going to look at into chapter number 3, right? For the objective of drawing histogram and stem and leaf is we want to see the shape of distribution, whether the distribution have a normally distributed, skewed to the right or skewed to the left, right? So stem and leaf display separate data entries into leading digit known as stem and trailing digit known as leaf, right? The stem plays on the left side of the column while the leaf plays on the right side of the column. So now on stem and leaf, we're going to separate the two columns, right? We have stem, this is going to be stem, and this is going to be leaf, right? So dia kata dekat sini, stem and leaf is separate data entry into leading digit known as stem. So leading digit means, let's say for example, you have example number 12, right? So we have 80, 75, 52, 58 until 58. We have 30 observation. So let's say 75 represent 7 stroke 5. So this is going to present 75. If you have 105, let's say we're going to put it as 10 stroke 5. So this is the meaning of his stem and leaf, right? So now let's look at what is the procedure to construct a stem and leaf, right? First, we need to decide the place of the digit of the stem, right? Right, either it can be 100 place or 10 place. For this example, kita dah pilih tadi. For 75, kita ambil 7 stroke 5 represent 75, right? So dia kata for convenience, take the leaf as single last digit of the data, right? So single digit dekat belakang as a stem. So arrange the stem in a column with the smallest stem at the top of the column and the largest stem at the bottom, right? So enter the leaf for each data into row according to the corresponding entered earlier. So now kita akan buat ni, so this one dulu, right? So first we're going to create a 2 column, right? So this one represent, this is represent stem, and this is going to present leaf, right? So we have 75. This is we have 2 digit number, right? So let's say kita letak satu note dekat sini. Note 75 is equal to 7 stroke 5, right? So let's begin with the smallest value. Let's say the smallest value is 50 something, right? 52, 58. We start with 5. right? 5, first column we have 2, 8, and then we have 4, 5, 3, and 8. Sorry, we have 45, right? Let's say I clear this one first. We have 4 and 5, 45 only one, right? And then we follow by 5, 2, 8, and then we have 4, 54, 55, 53, and 58. Is it? Let me mark this one. 52, 58, and then 55, 53, 58. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And 52, 58, 54 here. Right? So we have 6 observations, right? Okay. Next we move to 60. 6. Let me clear this one first. And 68, 60, 62, 63, 60, 65, 62, and that's all, right? So this is going to be 68, 60, 2, 3, and then this is 0, 5, 2, right? So again, we have 7 observation here, right? This is the first step, and then we move to 7. 7 we have 75, 72, 7, 4. 68 we have 2. Is it? Again, we try to figure out for 60. This is 68, 60, 62, 63, 64, 68. Yeah, 68 we have 2. And that's all. So I just clear this one first. So again, we have 8, 0, 2, 3, 4, 0, 8, 5, 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Clear? Okay. Next, move to the 70 something. So for 70, we have 75, 72, 77, 74, 72, and 70, 71. That's all, right? So we have 5, 2, 7, 4, 2, 0, 1. Is it? Do we have more? I think that's all, right? And then we move to the 80 something. So 80, start with 82, 80, 84, and then 84, 80, right? So we have 8, 2, 0, 4, 4, 0. And the last one is 9. We have 92, 91, only 2 observations for 90, right? So 1 and 2, right? So this is the first step, right? So actually you can jump to the second step straight away, but I like to do things organized. So for the second step, right? For the second step, we're going to arrange the data from the smallest value to the largest value. Oops. So again, this is going to be your stem. This is your leaf, right? So let me use another color. So for 4, we have only 5. For 5, we have the smallest value is 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 8. For 6, we have 0, 0, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8, 8. Right? For 7, we have 0, 1, 2, 2, 4, 5, and 7. And for 8, we have 0, 0, 2, 4, 4. And for 9, we have 1 and 2. And we need to put note 75 is equal to 7/5. So this is the stem and leaf display, right? So the objective again, we want to see the relation, this shape of distribution for stem and leaf, right? Right. So if you rotate your stem and leaf, you will get like this, right? So this is going to show you the shape of distribution normally distributed. Nanti I tunjuk dekat you what is the normally distributed shape and what is skewed to the right and skewed to the left. So this basically you got the idea. So we want to see the shape of distribution by constructing stem and leaf display and histogram chart. Until now, do you have any question? Do you understand how to construct stem and leaf? Right, good. So now we look at the shape of data distribution. Right. So shape of data stem and leaf. Our objective is we want to see the shape of data distribution. So if you get the data look like this, so the first one I will look like shape, right? So this is what we call as normal distribution or symmetrical distribution. The reason why we call symmetrical or normal distribution because we are going to split the distribution into twofold, right? This area on the right hand side, let's say this is 0, is equal to the area on the left hand side, right? This is from negative infinity to infinity. So this is what we call as a normal distribution or symmetrical distribution, right? Another distribution is it has tail long to the left. So this tail is long to the left. So this is what we call as skewed to the left distribution, right? Skewed to the left distribution. And another one is we have the tail skewed to the right, long to the right. So when the tail is longer on the right side, this is what we call as skewed to the right distribution. Right? When we have two model value, let's say you have two, this is what we call as a model. This is a mode. This is also the peak here is mode. This is also mode. And normally this one is your mean, right? So when you have two mode, right, this is what we call as bimodal distribution for this one, right? Right. So do you understand how the distribution shape works? We have normal distribution where the curve look like a bell-shaped distribution, and then we have skew to the left distribution where we have the longest tail on the left hand side, and we have skew to the right distribution where the longest tail on the right hand side, right? And we have, when we have two peak or two model value, then it is called as a bimodal distribution, right? So now we move to the last chart that we're going to draw, which is cumulative frequency table, right? So before this, we already looked at how to draw a frequency table for qualitative data. Another one is frequency table for quantitative data. And we already know how to draw histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve. And then we already know how to draw a stem and leaf diagram. And we also understand the shape of distribution, right? So now we'll move to the next topic, which is cumulative frequency table. So now this is a frequency table. If you can look at this table, this is what we call a frequency table, right? So we have age less than 1, less than 3, until less than 11. And this is your frequency value, right? This is a number of children, 0, 12, 28, 13, 14, 15, 12, 2, right? So I just want to explain how we're going to construct a frequency, a cumulative frequency. So we have, this is a frequency. Cumulative frequency, the symbol is capital F. Frequency is small letter f, the symbol, right? Remember, this is your first class. You need to listen carefully. This is your second class, third class, fourth class, and fifth class. Cumulative frequency start before the first frequency, right? Cumulative frequency of in the table start before the first frequency on the first class. Means the frequency before the first class, the cumulative frequency before the first class is 0, because frequency before the first class also 0. There are no value before the first class. This is, you need to understand this one. So cumulative frequency for the first class, right? For the first class, we're going to add cumulative frequency before the first class, which is equal to 0, right? Plus the frequency of the first class. So you will get 0 plus 12 equal to 12. Right? You boleh nampak? Again, I tulis. this is your frequency value. This is your cumulative frequency, right? Cumulative frequency start before the first class. So frequency of the first class before the first class is 0. Cumulative frequency also 0 before the first class. So to get cumulative frequency of the first class, this is your first class. Cumulative frequency before the first class plus frequency of the first class is equal to 12. Means 0 plus 12 is equal to 12. Right? Cumulative frequency of the second class, this one, is equal to cumulative frequency before the second class plus frequency of the second class is equal to 12 plus 28 equal to 40. Right? Basically, 40 plus 13 equal to 53. 53 plus 15 equal to 68. 68 plus 2 equal to 70. And the cumulative frequency value of the last class is equal to the total frequency. Right? So this is what we call as a cumulative frequency. Right? Are you okay with this one? Right. If you're okay, then we move to the next example, next topic, which is cumulative frequency curve or less than ogive. Right. We will go to start a less than ogive. We will not focus on more than ogive. In this topic, in this subject, we only focus on ogive. So a less than ogive is a graphical presentation of a cumulative frequency table. Right? The x-axis represent variable given in form of class boundaries. So it's same as histogram. X-axis represent a class boundary, but for histogram, y-axis represent frequency. On less than ogive or cumulative frequency curve, y-axis represent cumulative frequency. Right? So now we're going to look at example number 13. Draw a less than ogive for the above table and form the ogive and determine, and from the ogive determine the following question lah. But now first we're going to copy this table first. Let me copy this one. Oops. Right. Now kita kena cari class boundary. So you see each class for the first class this is our class. First lower class boundary is 1, upper class boundary is 3 for the first class. Lower class boundary is 3, upper class boundary is 5 for the second class, and so on. So in this table, we already have a class boundary. So to create less than ogive, right? First we create y-axis, and then we follow by x-axis. And remember, for less than ogive, y-axis represent cumulative frequency. Right, cumulative frequency. This is, you need to remember this one because I already seen many of students making mistake to understand to write down on y-axis. Always there some of the students state y-axis is a frequency, and then for x-axis it should be a class boundary. Right, cumulative frequency. We need to create this table, right? Cumulative frequency start from 12, 40, 53, 68, and 70. Let's say we put as this is 10, tak muat. Nanti saya tunjuk balik. Yalah, bagi 10, 20 lah. This is 30, 40, 50, 60. Right. So on x-axis, we're going to start with a lower class boundary. So lower class boundary before the first class, right? This is our first class. This is second class, right? And third, fourth, and fifth lah. Before the first class is less than 1, right? This is less than 3, less than 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, right? So this is less than 1. So kita akan letak less than 1 dekat sini. And then this is 2, this is 3, this is 5, this is 7, 9, 11. This is 3, 1. Right. For the first graph, less than 1, this is less than. For less than 1, the value of cumulative frequency is 0, right? For less than 3, the value of cumulative frequency is 12. So we're going to put 12. And for less than 5, the value of cumulative frequency is 40. So we're going to put in 40. For less than 7, the cumulative frequency is 53. So we're going to put 53 over here. And then the less than 9 is 68. 68 somewhere here. And then for less than 11, the cumulative frequency is 70. I'm going to put here, right? Next step is we're going to connect the line. So this is a cumulative less than ogive. So x and y axis represent age in years, and this is representing a cumulative frequency, and x axis represent number of children, which is a class boundary. And don't forget the title, a less than ogive represent age of children, age of children, right? So capital N is equal to 70, right? So remember the requirement for writing a title for the graph, you should have the graph, the name of the graph, which is less than or give, and the variable involved in the graph, right? So this is a less than or give. So now look at the question number 13. Draw a less than or give for the above data. So we already draw a less than or give. From the or give, determine percentage of children having age less than 6 years old. So if you want to determine the percentage of children having age less than 6 years old, so let's say I'm using this color, right? So 6 is somewhere between here, right? So you're going to take your ruler and draw this point. So if you have you draw into your graph paper, you will get the exact value lah. So this is going to be 56, sorry, 46. 46 or 47, right? So percentage of children having age less than 6 years old is 46 over 70 multiplied with 100%. 46 divided 70 multiplied with 100%. So this is going to be 65.71%. Right? Now, question number 2, percentage of children having age more than 10 years old. So you need to always remember, we are drawing a less than or give. Means less than. The value of 46 here represent children having less than 6 years old. So now for the second question, we want to know what is the percentage of children having age more than 10 years old. So let's say 10 is over here. Right? Letak bawah sikit lah. So this is going to be 69, right? So kalau kita ambil 69 dekat sini, it means that number of children having age less than 10 years old, 69. If number of children age more than 10 years old means 70 minus 69, which is multiply with 100%. So this one going to be 1.43%, right? Are you okay? If you have question, then you can write it into chat room. Right. The last question is percentage of children having age between 6 and 10 years old. So this is 6 and 10 years old. So we want to know what is the percentage of children having age between 6 and 10 years old. So we want to know this area. Right? So number of children between 6 and 10 years old is 69 minus 46. So you're going to be 69 minus 46 is equal to 23. So the percentage is 23 divided by 70 multiplied with 100%. It's 23 divided by 70 multiplied with 100. So it's going to be 32.86. Right? This is how we answer the question from less than or give. And if you want to determine median, right? For example, if you want to determine median, median is the middle value, means 70 divided by 2 is equal to 35. This is not a median. This is a position of median. 35 should be somewhere here. So the median should be equal to 4 point something, right? So median should be equal to 4.8, for example, right? This is going to be your median, right? So far, do you understand how to construct less than or give and answer the question from less than or give? Can you comment on the chat room if you understand? If you have a question, you can write it into the chat room. All right, I'm going to stop recording now because we already finished chapter number 2.